In the land where east meets west, empires rose and fell. Gods were worshipped, and revolutions were sparked. This is not just a country, it's a living memory of human history. This is Türkiye. From prehistoric settlements to the modern-day republic, Türkiye has stood at the center of trade, war, religion, and revolution. This is the dramatic, powerful, and often unpredictable story of a land that has been everything from cradle of civilization to global power broker. Before the Ottomans, before Islam, before the Greeks, Anatolia was already ancient. In the Paleolithic era, this land was home to early humans. But it was around 7,500 BCE that something astonishing happened. The rise of Çatalhöyük, one of the world's first urban settlements. With multi-story houses and advanced social structures, it rewrote everything we thought we knew about early humanity. By 1600 BCE, the Hittites emerged. Masters of warfare and diplomacy, they created an empire that rivaled Egypt. Clay tablets from their capital, Hattusa, reveal treaties, myths, and the world's first known legal codes. Then came the Phrygians and Lydians. The Lydians, under King Croesus, minted the world's first coins. Commerce, culture, and mythology flourished. Meanwhile, Greek colonists arrived on the Aegean coast. Cities like Troy, Ephesus, and Miletus became intellectual and artistic powerhouses. Thinkers like Thales and Heraclitus laid the foundation for Western philosophy in what is now modern Türkiye. In the 2nd century BCE, Rome absorbed Anatolia into its vast empire. Roads, aqueducts, theaters, all appeared here. More important, so did Christianity. The Apostle Paul traveled through Anatolian cities. By 325 CE, the Council of Nicaea, held near modern-day Iznik, laid down the core beliefs of Christian doctrine. When the Roman Empire split, Constantinople became the capital of the Eastern Roman, or Byzantine Empire. It would stand for over 1,000 years. Mosaics, domes, and Orthodox Christian power defined the Byzantine legacy. But cracks began to show. Political instability, Crusader invasions, and pressure from the East weakened the Byzantines. And from the steppes of Central Asia, a new force was coming. The year was 1071. At the Battle of Manzikert, the Byzantine army collapsed under the might of Alp Arslan and the Seljuk Turks. Turkic tribes poured into Anatolia, establishing the Sultanate of Rum. Islam took root, but not as a monolith. Anatolia remained diverse, with Armenians, Greeks, Assyrians, and Jews sharing the land. The Seljuks built caravanserais, mosques, and madrasas. Trade routes like the Silk Road brought wealth and knowledge. Konya became a spiritual center, home to Rumi, the poet and mystic whose verses still inspire millions. Yet the Seljuk unity would fracture, opening the door for something greater, the Ottomans. Founded by Osman I around 1299, the Ottoman Empire was more than a state. It was a civilization. Under leaders like Mehmed II and Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottomans captured Constantinople in 1453, renamed it Istanbul, and turned it into the seat of a global empire. They ruled over 30 million people, spanning Southeast Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Their administrative genius showed in the Devirme system and the Millet framework that let minorities govern themselves. Religiously, they upheld Sunni Islam, but allowed Christians and Jews considerable freedom. The Sheikhul Islam advised the Sultan on Sharia, while Sufi orders spread spiritual teachings across the empire. Culturally, the Ottomans advanced architecture, astronomy, cartography, and medicine. Mimar Sinan, the architect, built structures that rival the works of Renaissance Europe. But by the 19th century, decline set in. Europe modernized. The Ottomans hesitated. Nationalism, corruption, and foreign debt. In 1908, the Young Turks staged a revolution, demanding constitutional rule. The Sultan was forced to yield, but World War I was catastrophic. The Ottoman Empire sided with Germany and lost. By 1918, the empire was dismembered. Istanbul was occupied by Allied forces. But out of this humiliation rose a soldier, Mustafa Kemal. He led the Turkish War of Independence from 1919 to 1923, defeating Greek, French, and British forces. In 1923, the Republic of Turkey was declared. The Caliphate was abolished. The Ottoman era ended. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk revolutionized Turkish life. He replaced Islamic law with secular codes. Religious schools were closed. The fez was banned. The Latin alphabet replaced Arabic script. Women gained the right to vote and run for office. Education became universal and science-driven. Institutions like TÜBİTAK were founded to lead scientific research. Ataturk wanted a modern, rational, secular state, and he succeeded. But the tension between religion and secularism would never fully disappear. The early republic strictly controlled religion. Imams were state employees. Religious orders were banned. But in the 1950s, as democracy returned, so did religious voices. By the 1980s, Islamic identity grew stronger, fueled by a conservative resurgence. And then came a man who would redefine that balance completely, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Turkey's democracy has been fragile. In 1960, 1971, and 1980, the military overthrew elected governments to preserve secularism. In 2013, protests erupted over plans to destroy Gezi Park in Istanbul. In 2016, a violent coup attempt shook the nation. It failed, but led to massive purges, arrests, and a shift to a presidential system. Since 2002, Erdogan has built mega-projects, expanded religious education, and centralized power. His AK party ended decades of coalition instability, but also curtailed press freedom and judicial independence. Under him, Türkiye launched its own satellites, built electric vehicles, TOG, and developed the Khan fighter jet. He dreams of turning Türkiye into a global tech and defense power. But critics warn, as democracy recedes, authoritarianism grows. Türkiye is a nation of contradictions, East and West, secular and religious, democratic and authoritarian, ancient and futuristic, and its story is far from over.